When my father called me 3 days after my major spinal surgery and said, "We're staying at your beach house this weekend," I thought he was joking. I could barely sit up. The surgical incisions on my back were still fresh, and my doctor had explicitly ordered total bed rest. But when I told him I couldn't host anyone, his tone instantly turned cold. "You're being selfish," he snapped. My mother added, "The plans aren't changing." They thought they could bully me like they always had, using my oceanfront property as their free vacation spot while ignoring my agony. But when Saturday morning came and they showed up with their luggage, key cards in hand, they didn't find me helplessly resting in bed. They found someone standing on the porch waiting for them, someone who turned their faces completely white. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. My name is Sophie Bennett. I'm 34 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the quiet enabler in a family that measures love by how much they can extract from you. 3 years ago, after working 80-hour weeks as a project manager, I achieved what felt like my life's crown jewel. I bought a stunning 4-bedroom craftsman home right off the California coast. It had a wraparound deck, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a panoramic view of the ocean. To me, it was my sanctuary. But to my family, it was simply our free beach house. Then, 2 weeks ago, disaster struck. A severe spinal disc herniation left me needing urgent high-risk lumbar surgery. When I finally was discharged from the hospital on Thursday, the surgeon's instructions were crystal clear. 6 weeks of strict bed rest, 0 lifting, absolute quiet, and 0 stress. I couldn't even bend down to pick up a fallen glass of water without shooting agony radiating down my legs. I was lying on my orthopedic mattress on Friday evening, clutching a heat pad, when my phone chimed. It was my father. He didn't ask how my incision was healing. He didn't ask if I needed groceries or if the pain meds were working. "Sophie," he said, his voice brisk and utterly devoid of warmth. "We're pulling into town late tonight. We'll be using your house for 3 days. It's perfect weather for our beach trip." I sat up, a sharp spike of white-hot pain shooting up my spine as I held the phone to my ear. "Dad, I can't host anyone," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just had spinal surgery 3 days ago. I can barely walk to the bathroom, let alone have guests in the house." A heavy, exasperated sigh came through the speaker. It was a familiar sound, the sound my father made whenever I didn't immediately fall in line. Growing up, my younger sister Alexis was the golden child who could do no wrong. If she wanted something, she got it. I was the dependable one, expected to work hard, stay quiet, and clean up the mess whenever the family needed something. "Don't start with the dramatic, Sophie," my mother's voice piped in on speakerphone, cold and dismissive. "It's just a weekend. We're family. You don't have to host us. We'll just be staying in the guest rooms, using the kitchen, and enjoying the ocean breeze. You won't even notice we're there." "I will notice," I pressed, clutching the armrest of my bed. My surgeon explicitly ordered total quiet and total bed rest. I cannot have people running through my house, cooking, making noise, and tracking sand across the floors. "The plans aren't changing," Dad snapped, his tone darkening into that familiar bully-like authority he'd used on me my entire life. "Alexis already packed her bags, and we told your aunt's family we'd be meeting them on the boardwalk tomorrow. We're arriving late tonight, so make sure the front porch light is on and the spare key is under the mat." Before I could reply, the line went dead. My heart pounded against my ribs, a sickening mix of anger and disbelief taking over. Less than 2 minutes later, my phone chimed with a text from Dad. "Leave the garage keypad code in a reply. We'll be arriving around 10 a.m. tomorrow instead, so we don't wake you up late tonight." They weren't asking, they were giving orders. They truly believed my home belonged to them whenever it was convenient. I lay back on my pillows, trying to control my breathing. Then, out of habit, I opened social media on my phone. What I saw made my blood run cold. My sister Alexis had posted a flashy graphic on her story just an hour earlier. The caption read, "Beach Bash Weekend, hosting the ultimate summer kickoff at our family's coastal estate this Saturday. DM for the address, food, drinks, and ocean views all weekend long." Below the text was a photo of my backyard deck and pool. They weren't just planning a quiet family visit. They had invited dozens of extended family members, friends, and acquaintances to throw a massive, loud party at my house, all while I was bedridden, clutching a heating pad, struggling to recover from spinal surgery. They intended to turn my sanctuary into a crowded, noisy frat house, expecting me to stay locked in my bedroom like a ghost in my own home while they tore the place apart. A cold, sharp clarity washed over me, cutting straight through the physical pain. For 34 years, I had let them walk all over me because I wanted to keep the peace. But this wasn't just disrespectful, it was cruel. My physical vulnerability had revealed their absolute lack of empathy. I looked at the ceiling, took a deep breath, and made a decision. I was done being the victim. I called my longtime friend Sarah, who was not only my closest confidant, but also a top-tier real estate and contract attorney in the city. Her voice instantly turned sharp when I told her what my family was planning while I was recovering from surgery. "Sophie, you are in no condition to handle a confrontation on your own porch." Sarah said firmly, "Let me handle this legally." By midnight, we had a plan in motion. First, I accessed my home's smart security system right from my iPad. I remotely cleared all temporary guest passcodes, changed the garage keypad access, and disabled the spare key receiver box. Next, Sarah contacted a private local security firm. She hired 2 off-duty uniformed officers to arrive at my gate by 8 a.m. equipped with explicit instructions to enforce a strict zero trespassing policy. Then came the masterstroke. Over the past 5 years, my father had borrowed over $40,000 from me under the pretense of emergency business investments. I had made him agree to formal repayment terms, which he had conveniently ignored, assuming I would never hold him accountable. Sarah authorized an official, legally binding demand for the immediate repayment of the full sum, citing his breach of contract. Attached to it was a formal notice of intent to place a lien against his primary residence if the funds weren't returned within 14 business days. She hired a licensed process server to deliver the notice in person. I finally fell asleep around 2 a.m., my back throbbing, but my heart strangely at peace. They thought they were coming to a helpless woman's beach house for a free vacation. Instead, they were walking straight into a legal trap designed to shatter their sense of entitlement forever. Saturday morning arrived bathed in clear golden sunlight. From my master bedroom window on the 2nd floor, I had a perfect elevated view of the driveway. At exactly 9:45 a.m., a convoy of 3 luxury SUVs pulled up to the gate. My father's truck leading the pack, followed by my sister's car packed to the brim with beach towels, coolers, and loud friends blasting music. They stepped out of their vehicles with supreme confidence, laughing and chatting like they owned the block. My father marched up the front steps, reaching into his pocket for the spare key box, while my sister pointed out the ocean view to her friends. Dad tapped the keypad. Red light. He tried again, slamming his hand against the panel. Nothing. That was when 2 tall uniformed security guards stepped out from the covered porch shade, standing side by side. Beside them stood a sharp-looking man in a suit. The process server Sarah had dispatched. Dad froze. His face instantly shifted from smug arrogance to sheer confusion. "What is the meaning of this?" he barked, trying to brush past them. "This is my daughter's house. Step aside." One of the security officers stepped forward, his voice booming across the quiet driveway. "Sir, this property is under private protection. The homeowner, Miss Sophie Bennett, has issued a formal trespass warning. You do not have permission to enter." My father, mother, and sister stood paralysed on the steps. Their smiles vanished in an instant, their faces turning completely, utterly white as the reality sank in. Dad's face flushed a dangerous shade of crimson. "Sophie!" he roared, looking up toward my 2nd floor window. "Get down here right now. Stop playing these ridiculous games." Instead of walking down, I pressed a button on my bedside table, activating the front door's 2-way smart speaker. My voice echoed crisp and clear across the driveway. "I told you I was recovering from spinal surgery," I said calmly. "I told you I couldn't host anyone. You ignored me just like you've ignored my boundaries my entire life. So now the law is going to enforce them for me." Right on cue, the process server stepped forward to address my father. "Mr. Vance, you are officially served with a formal demand for repayment of unpaid debts totaling $42,000. Along with a notice of intent to lien. Additionally, this serves as a legal cease and desist regarding this property." Behind him, Alexis's friends were watching in stunned silence, whispering among themselves as they realized the family estate party was an absolute lie. Alexis covered her face in humiliation, while my mother began shrieking about how ungrateful I was. "You have 2 minutes to clear the driveway," the lead security officer interjected, his hand resting on his belt. "If these vehicles are not off the premises immediately, we will call local law enforcement to tow them." Defeated, humiliated, and utterly exposed in front of their friends, my father turned away. He didn't say another word. They slunk back into their cars and sped away, leaving behind nothing but exhaust smoke and a silent driveway. In the days that followed, my family attempted their usual damage control. My mother sent passive-aggressive texts and Alexis tried posting online about how cold-hearted I was. But the narrative quickly fell apart. When my extended relatives learned the true story, that they had tried to throw a party at my home while I was bedridden from spinal surgery, the public backlash shifted completely onto them. My father was forced to negotiate a formal payment plan through Sarah's office to avoid a lien on his home. For the first time in 34 years, they realised I was no longer their passive, pushover daughter. I was a self-made woman who knew how to protect her peace. With the quiet restored, I spent my remaining recovery weeks resting on my oceanfront deck, surrounded by actual friends who brought over home-cooked meals and checked on my health without expecting anything in return. My back healed steadily, but more importantly, my spirit healed completely. Standing up to toxic family dynamics isn't easy, but setting firm boundaries was the best gift I ever gave myself. Your home, your health, and your self-respect are worth protecting, no matter who tries to take them away from you. Thank you so much for following my story until the end. If you've ever had to set a hard boundary with family, let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to tell me what city you're watching from today. See you in the next story.